All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the recap. Michael D'Angelo, joined as always by my partner in crime, Mr. Big D, Daryl Ortiz, on the road to Elimination Chamber. It's already a week away, Big D. That didn't take long.
It is, and it's been a rush to get all the matches in, but it's been working out. Interesting week we had, but I mean,
Yeah. Interesting is a polite way to put it. I gotta tell you, as we'll get into, I know this is just them trying to push all the pieces together into place for Elimination Chamber, which really will be the case this week. This past week felt a little uneven to me, but let's start out on Raw. Kind
yeah.
of go through.
So on Raw, we had Sami Zayn come out to pretty much give his spiel about Kevin Owens and what he did, and wanting a match. He wants a match at Elimination Chamber. He doesn't want to be stopped. Of course, Mr. Adam Pearce comes out and says the only way he can make it happen is if he makes it an unsanctioned match, which he knows that he can't stop Kevin, and he can't stop Kevin from doing this and doing that. And Sammy just did the typical face thing where, well, now you can't stop me. So all in all, just to say there will be an unsanctioned match at Elimination Chamber between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens.
A long promo too, because this
it was
went
very
on for
long.
a while, and I was
It
like,
did.
it was an awful lot of talking to get to.
Yeah.
Unsanctioned match that you knew was going to happen, which I like the fact that they go, no, it's unsanctioned. You can literally do anything. I was like, well, if it's unsanctioned, then couldn't you just call the cops and say there's two men trying to kill each other?
There's an attempted murder in place.
There's attempted murder that's about half that is in progress. Like, unsanctioned matches always felt a little silly to me because I'm like, now it just means you're not saved under the guise of this is a competitive match that we've all agreed to. And it's been unsanctioned, and then it's like anything goes. They can kill each other. There's no repercussions. Like, well, not really. It's an unsanctioned match. But
yeah, and I mean, I feel like this. Yeah, we'll get into the predictions later, but yeah, I feel this match is. I feel this is kind of like a stepping stone match, to be honest with you, because the way they made it sound. We'll see how it goes. But after that, we got our first. After all that talk, we got our first wrestling match between AJ Styles, Dominic Mysterio. AJ Styles took the victory in his debut, re-debut, I should say, because he's been out for a while. So now he came back, and it's his first match on Raw in forever, from what they say. But yeah, so they had that happen. And then, of course, after the match, Braun Breaker tried to come in and hit AJ with the spear. He moved and it hit Dom, and Dom took the brunt of it. But yeah, I think that's going to be the next program or the next feud for AJ is going to be Braun Breaker versus AJ for the Intercontinental title, which I am stoked for because I feel they would put on a hell of a match. I feel like, okay, so I feel like this will either make or break Braun Breaker in a sense that he's going up against AJ Styles, not arguably, I think hands down, going down as a Hall of Famer as soon as he retires.
Definitely.
He is the best. I think that what's going to happen here is if they're wanting to, this is what we'll see how Triple H feels about Braun Breaker truly, because he's either going to retain over AJ in a good length feud, or they're gonna do the Kofi Brock thing, and AJ's just gonna like beat him and take the Intercontinental title. I know that's common sense, right? One or the other, but I feel like that's gonna gauge pretty much how they're feeling about Braun Breaker and how they make him, if he does lose, how he goes out, right? Like if it's to elevate him or if it's to, because I feel like AJ Styles is kind of, from what they've been saying and the way they've been talking about him, I feel like he's nearing his retirement run.
Yeah,
which is a sad thing. I don't want to see
he's 47 years old, and like he's up.
He don't
people
look
forget.
it.
Yeah, people forget him and John Cena are almost the same age.
Yeah,
which is
because he's been doing it, but at TNA for so long.
Yeah.
You know, he's been running TNA for so long, and I love AJ, and I don't want to see him go. It's just the greedy, selfish wrestling fan in me. But I feel like that's what we're nearing, and they might. Has he held the Intercontinental title before?
AJ Styles, I don't know that he has. He held the U.S. Championship.
Yeah, he held the U.S.
I don't know that he held the Intercontinental title.
So they may be wanting to make him a Grand Slam champion before he leaves. And if so, I respect that. But it's just going to depend on how they handle Braun, and maybe I'll use him to elevate him to the main title picture. My point being, I don't see AJ going for another world title run just yet. Maybe at the very end, especially because you have Cena trying to do it too. But I think we're going to have AJ do some sort of title run before he leaves. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. But I don't know.
We'll no, and I really enjoyed this match. Like, you knew Dominic was going to lose, you knew AJ was going to win, but the match is still fun. Kind of the teaser for Braun Breaker and AJ is one of the things that I've enjoyed the most in recent memory, because I was like, oh, I'm actually excited about that. This is going to be fun. And he kind of made Braun look like a chump, which is cool because Braun Breaker's this beast and AJ's obviously 47 years old, and he's doing the whole, he's going to create a retirement home for 47-year-old wrestlers and all this stuff, and
Yeah,
making fun of AJ Styles. But then AJ gets the better of him because he gets out of the way of the spear. And then
because he knows.
when Braun pulled his shirt off and threw it at him, he caught the shirt. Like everything about it
Yes,
made him look like a chump.
I
And
think
I
that
was
was
like, it was
unintentional, kind of like
totally,
when
yeah, it was
back
completely
when
accidental.
yeah, back when Brock threw the mic at
At
Roman and
Roman,
Roman caught
yeah.
it. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, and I was like, he just ran with it, and I was like,
Well,
yes.
it was so great because it made because you've got Braun all huffing and puffing and he's angry and he pulls a shirt and throws it and he just catches it all coolly and just stares at him.
And then
Like the
just tosses it
contrast of
away.
styles and then just toss it away was like, yeah, you got the young, like angry, passionate upstart guy who's a threat, but who's reckless and who's wild. And then you have the wise veteran who's kind of one step ahead. So even though that was totally unintentional, it played beautifully with how they're
Yeah,
setting this up.
I agree.
So I'm really excited about this one.
I am too. I'm stoked to see it. I love AJ, and I think and Braun's doing great, and I think it's going to be a fun, a good way to see them elevate each other, and
Yeah,
so I'm excited for it.
agreed.
We had Dakota Kai, Ivy Nile, Women's Intercontinental #1 contenders match. Dakota Kai, rightfully so, I feel, won. I
Yeah.
think Dakota Kai is long overdue for a title run, a singles title run. I think she is in the main roster. I think she is doing great. It was a little clunky at points, but I think it's just her getting back into the groove of things because I know she was out for like a long period of time. And so yeah, we're gonna have Dakota Kai versus Lyra Valkyria at some point for the Intercontinental Championship. I don't know if they'll have Lyra drop the title so soon because they seem to be really high on her right now. But I mean, I wouldn't be mad at either woman walking away of that match with the title. So
Yeah, I wouldn't, and it's technically we're getting what, a rematch, right? It's a rematch of
because
the
the
finals
finals,
because
yeah,
the finals was those two. So yeah, I think it'll be good. I'm looking forward to it. But this one, you kind of, for same thing here. I'm like, you kind of knew Ivy Nile wasn't going to win because
yeah.
Master Gable, as they like to call him, is putting so much pressure on them to win titles. It's like,
But she
when he
did
comes
wrestle in
back,
AAA.
yeah, I was like, whoa, because he's doing his sabbatical to fight lucha libre guys specifically. But you knew that they're all going to come up short, and he's going to be mad at them when they come back.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the whole what is it, Alpha Academy all over again.
Yeah.
But we'll see. After that, we had Gunther mocking the Jey Uso entrance, which I don't know how I felt about it because he's not that kind of heel. I feel it was a little too cheesy for Gunther, but I mean, I get it. I get what they're doing. It's just hard because his demeanor, his stature, like to see him try and be like silly is kind of weird. But yeah, it worked because he got Jay out there and they kind of brawled until they got pulled away or whatever. So nothing really much done other than just reminding people that hey, they're gonna have a match at WrestleMania.
Well,
So
and this is like checking the boxes. I actually liked it. I liked him doing because he wanted to see what it feels like to get the yeet chant,
mm,
and so he'd try to do that. And then he had the performing for all of you was like reading Shakespeare to a dog comment, which I was like everything. And he's like making fun of the kids and like
yeah,
confronting like the kids in the crowd as he goes down through. I actually enjoyed the heck out of this because I'm like, they've got so much time to kill before WrestleMania.
right,
It's like you're gonna have to stretch this out, and I don't want to see them just doing the same old promos every single week of
right,
like, you're beneath me, Jay, and then Jay going yeet. Like
yeah.
there's only so much of that you can do. So I actually enjoy this for the fact that they tried something a little different.
I can see that. I can
Yeah.
respect that. It was just a little off for me, but I get it. It works. After that, speaking of working, we had Pete Dunne versus Penta. Penta obviously
Yeah.
picks up the victory. Interesting match though, because it looks like they're going to set up a triples match
Hmm.
between Pete Dunne, Ludwig Kaiser, and Penta, which is cool. I mean, we said that was going to be his first feud, anyways.
Yeah.
It's a good way to kind of keep him in the eyes of the audience while not yet putting him in like a main, like in a title picture spot. It's more kind of like, hey, he's up there trying to compete against great wrestlers in Pete Dunne and Ludwig Kaiser. So I mean, it was a fun match. It was a good match. It was a good comparison of styles between Penta and Pete Dunne. So I feel like I mean I really enjoyed the match, but again you had Penta trying to like fend off Ludwig and Pete Dunne, and then eventually they ended up fighting each other because they still don't like each other because of course they're heels. And so I'm guessing we're gonna have a triple threat match at some point between the three of them, which I'm all for. That is going to be a crazy match to see, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I thought this was all good stuff too. I like all three of these two. I think Pete Dunne is criminally underrated.
Mm-hmm.
and not really appreciated. And he was really good. I think he's a good opponent for Penta right now because Penta kind of came in with those early jitters in those first few
Yeah,
matches. So he's a great one to work with as he continues to kind of
he's
get
finding
up
his
to
groove.
speed on it. And he's
Mm-hmm.
finding his groove.
Yeah,
And then I always like Kaiser a lot. Again, another very underrated performer is Kaiser.
yeah,
So this one I enjoyed. I'm looking forward to the triple threat that I know they're going to get to eventually.
I agree. And then after that, I was wrong. I'll say it. We had the Elimination Chamber qualifier between Roxanne Perez and Raquel Rodriguez, and
Yeah.
Roxanne won. I thought she was going to get jumped beforehand, so you're going to get Becky
Yeah.
Lynch. So I guess we got to wait for Becky Lynch. Maybe it'll be Mania. We'll see. Yeah, we had Liv Morgan and Raquel there because of they're all talking about the video because they happen to be in the general vicinity. I know they're still running with that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But so yeah, you had that happen. You had, I mean, it wasn't too crazy of a match. It was just,
Yeah.
I think if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, Roxanne got the pop rocks off of the distraction
Yeah, because it was
because Bianca
Naomi and
and
Bianca
yeah,
coming down.
they came
But
down to
which I gotta tell you, okay, so this is the thing that bugged me about this too. So they won because of the distraction, but their point of being there is, we know these two basically attempted to murder Jade Cargill because
yeah.
that was an attempted murder. And so what they decided was, all right, let's go down to the match and interfere, and so that we can confront them. But hey, before we do that, do you want to coordinate some Bring It On cosplay
I
costuming?
saw that. I was like, why do they look like they're on Bring It On?
Well, and so when I saw that, I was like, wait a minute, they're going to confront two people, a serious confrontation over an attempted murder on their friend, and they still decided that, hey, let's cosplay as the girls from Bring It On to do that confrontation of how dare you try to attempt to murder our friend. So like everything about the tone of that, I'm like, that's cool. If they were wrestling a match and they wanted to come out in that
But
gear,
they weren't wrestling
they weren't
that
wrestling.
show.
Yeah, they weren't wrestling.
Maybe the dark
It
match.
was
I don't know, right? We don't know what the dark matches were.
yeah, I
I
don't know, but
mean,
it came off as odd to me. I was
because
like,
like
this is
to
kind of strange.
right, and like to me, it's like if they were going out to like seek vengeance, they'd be in street clothes. They'd be
Yeah,
like in regular clothes coming out to like attack because they're like screw this, we're coming. They had the chance to go to
yeah,
hair and
they're not going to
makeup
come
and
out like in
get
kind
their
of
outfits in
silly, like,
check. And
hey, let's
I,
let's do this kind of fun theme thing.
I
That
agree. I
that
feel it
felt
took
off.
away. I feel
Yeah,
like it took away from the tone of the severity of it, right? And
yeah,
and again, this points me to saying I still think this was Naomi,
yeah. It's going
or
to be
possibly
Naomi.
or Bianca. You never know.
Well,
It
because
could
they
be.
mentioned on SmackDown when they were interviewing them after about that, and they were like, we took matters into our own hands. Like we've been reaching out to Jade, and she hasn't been responding to our texts. And so I'm like, okay, and so we haven't been able to talk to her to skip her perspective. So they
Yeah,
put that out there very specifically. And I'm like, okay, so wait a minute. Jade's your best friend and you haven't spoken to her and she's not returning your text
yeah,
messages or calls. So they're kind of telegraphing it's either Bianca. Obviously, I think Naomi's been like the number one suspect at this point, but
yeah,
it's somebody from that group.
yeah. I agree. Well, we'll see. The search continues, right? We had after that we had Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wild, and Dragon Lee confronting Kofi and Xavier because they were doing a promo at the ring, in the ring, and of course that feud's going to continue. Nothing really. I feel that nothing's really being done here. We'll just see what
Yeah,
happens. I'm just
we'll
waiting
see.
and seeing. But we did have Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor in the main event for the last spot in the Elimination Chamber qualifier. This one I really couldn't decide who would be who
Yeah.
because I like both in the spot there. They both have a rightful spot. At the end, it was Seth Rollins who spun out of a submission attempt to hit the stomp. Again, Finn Balor just trying to make him tap out because of the knee. He hurt the
Yeah.
knee. He couldn't hit the coup de grace very well, so he just went for submission. Great way to end it there. Again, you had Seth Rollins up in victory, so that's going to be your final entrant into the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, so the match was really good. There were a couple of weird moments. There was a moment where I can't tell Finn just forgot to kick out, for
Yeah,
just barely, like
the
he didn't
crowd
get his
chanting
shoulder
"You
up.
effed up" to the ref.
Yeah, to the ref. Well, because the ref had to stop his count
You
basically,
did,
and he stopped
which is
his count.
weird.
Yeah, which I was
Because
like,
it
just
used
keep
to
going.
be,
Yeah,
yeah, it used to be the refs are told they have to count to three regardless,
yeah.
and
Well,
that's
and
it.
Seth was supposed to be the winner, so at that
I
point the
mean, it
match
would
would have
have
just
just
ended
ended it.
early. It would have ended early, but so that was kind of weird. And then there was a moment when they were up on the top ropes and Finn was trying to counter out of a superplex, and they both kind of fell and they
Yeah,
both kind of slipped. So there were a couple of like moments where I was like, oh, that was kind of sloppy. Other than that, the match was pretty great. I mean, I really enjoyed it. And I will say this though about Pat McAfee on commentary. throughout this match, he kept saying, "Yeah, this chamber match is legends only, only the legends." And I was like, "Then what's Logan Paul doing in there? Like,
Yeah.
why do you keep saying it's legends only?" Because he's trying to run through everyone's resumes, but then conveniently forgets to mention the fact that Logan Paul is in chamber match and has no resume. He's not a
Yeah.
legend. He's a one-time U.S. champion.
Yeah.
That's it. He has no other resume than that. He is not a legend, but he kept saying that over and over. Hey, legends only legends allowed, only the best, only former world champions. And he's like saying all this
He's
stuff.
trying
And
to
I'm like,
sell the hell out of the
trying to
chamber
sell it.
match.
But I'm like, yeah, I get it. But Logan Paul is not a legend. And Damian Priest, to be fair, isn't a legend either at this point. Damian Priest has had one world title run. So, it's that felt a little flat. But I was just kind of like, dude, stop trying to sell us on this. It's a legends only thing, because that's clearly
Yeah.
not true.
4 out of the 6 would qualify for that statement. The
Yeah.
other 2, not really.
The other two, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was Monday Night Raw. And SmackDown, I think SmackDown was, for me, an uneven and odd show because of, you can tell they did a bunch of changes at the last minute because of The Rock.
Yeah.
Like it became abundantly clear that the choice to have The Rock come in and cut a promo was a last minute thing, because they reshuffled the cards. The original main event was supposed to be a 6-man with Cody, Damian Priest, and what was it? Braun Strowman. Cody, Damian Priest, and Braun Strowman versus Tama, Solo, and Jacob is what it was going to be.
Yeah.
And then they got rid of Tama, and so it ended up being Jacob and Solo versus Damian Priest and Braun Strowman. They pulled Cody and had him be in the segment with The Rock.
Which is weird the way they did it.
Yeah. Well, so that's where. All right. Well, I'll quickly say it opened with Drew McIntyre versus Jimmy Uso, which was fine, but it ended with a surprise roll up, and I was like, seriously, like, are we gonna do this? And then he just beat him up. So I was like, come on, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So I wasn't happy with that.
Yeah, I think they didn't know how to finish that match, and it just, they had Jay. I think they're trying. I don't know what they're trying to do with that. I feel like at this point they didn't want to job out Jimmy, I guess. But at the end of the day, when you put him up against somebody who's literally going to compete next week in a chamber match, like, you can't have them lose. I mean, beat them somebody else then, and have Jimmy interfere. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
this felt like a misstep here, where I was like, okay, you had to do the surprise thing. You had him beat Drew, and then you had Drew just be like, I don't care. You mean nothing to me. And then kind of rough him up a little bit until security ran him off. And then after this, you had the tag match with
Carmelo. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, Melo and Miz trying to work on it, with R-Truth saying that he is a Louisiana legend, which was LA Knight, Louisiana Knight, which was hilarious.
Well, because even LA Knight's like telling him at the top of the ramp, he's like, I'm not from Louisiana.
I'm not from Louisiana.
I think he's giving him beads and like a po' boy.
Like this was my favorite moment of the night.
Yeah,
clearly.
Same.
Like, everything about it was entertaining and fun. You had R-Truth tagging into the Miz's corner and standing there with him at one point, where he was like, hey, what are you doing?
The fake 3 count.
Yeah.
When Melo got knocked down and R-Truth just starts counting 1, 2, and Melo kicks out, but then he's like, wait a minute, like, nobody's there. And R-Truth is like, 2, 2, 2.
Everything was about this was cool. Now you had Shinsuke Nakamura, of course, jump out, attack LA Knight, and then Truth ended up taking the loss for the team. And you had Miz and Melo kind of teasing that, oh, hey, maybe we will be tag partners. Like, maybe Melo's going to come around a little bit. There's like the hints there. So this one was the most fun thing that happened. And then you had Tiffany Stratton versus Candice LeRae, which you can tell they tried to condense stuff down again because of the Rock promo. You could tell they were trying to condense things, because they started out, Nia Jax came out with Candice to cut a promo after Tiffany was cutting a promo on Charlotte. Then they cut to break, and then when they come back from break, the match is already going. So they started the match during the commercial break, and then when they immediately came back from the break, Charlotte's music hit, and then she walked down. The match kind of stopped for like 15, 20 seconds while she was walking down, and nobody did anything. And then Charlotte got on commentary and was pretty boring on commentary. Yeah. And then we got another long break, and Tiff hit the prettiest moonsault, then got attacked by Nia Jax. Then Trish ran down for the save, because Trish and her are teaming together. And then Candice and Nia took her down, and Nia did a double annihilator to Trish and Tiffany. And then Charlotte walked in and stood over Tiff and then awkwardly pointed at the WrestleMania sign. Like, everything about this felt weird and off. And they were trying to condense a couple of segments to make time for The Rock, because I think the Charlotte promo was supposed to probably be separate from this.
It probably was. I think they just combined it together and just told her to get on commentary so she can talk trash.
Yeah. And I agree. That's where I was like, this whole thing felt disjointed. And I am not a fan of them starting matches like during the break. And it's like, hey, when they come back, like, Tiff hasn't been able to get any offense in, but right now she's killing it. I was like, so you cut out like all of Candace's offense, and when you came back, Tiff was rolling again. So none of this I was a fan of because it
Yeah.
felt rushed. And then the immediate segment after this was Rush 2. You can tell they cut the match, which is Liv Morgan versus Naomi, that didn't even start because they got attacked by Liv and Raquel before the match started and then just walked off. And it was
Like they
like,
were still doing
no match.
their walkout. They're still
Yeah,
doing their entrance. I mean, and it was they get beat up, and then no match after that.
no
Usually they
match.
start a match.
Yeah, they were
Usually
just
you
like,
start the match, and
they're
that's why
so
you do that.
badly injured from that ambush that they can't continue.
The ref waves it off. No,
And
no, no.
and that's where I was like, man, when I saw all these segments in a row, I was like, they're cutting time because of The Rock, because they're like, we need to save time for him to get out there, and then he was out there next. And this, I'm curious about your feelings on this promo, because for me, it felt like tonally uneven throughout, because it started off with The Rock was all buddy with the crowd and announcing that next year's WrestleMania is going to be in New Orleans. And it was like, okay, so this is why he had to come out here for this one, because they're in New Orleans now. And he wanted to do the announcement in front of a live crowd. Is that why we're doing this? And he was very complimentary. And then he switched to like the heel shtick and then just started making fun of New Orleans and calling them all a bunch of like herpes riddled trailer trash. And it was like, okay, so he is a heel again, because he wasn't a heel on Netflix. And then he did the singing and then was like, don't sing along. This isn't a sing along. But then appreciated that they sung along. Like he seemed like very bipolar throughout
It
this
was
whole
weird.
segment. The whole thing was strange. And then he called Cody down and paid him a bunch of compliments and said he wanted to elevate him. Hey, we're buddies now. We drank a bunch of tequila backstage and we're pals, right? And our moms hang out together. And then he wants Cody to be his champ. And it was a long promo
It
of
was
him
a very long-winded
winded,
promo.
very long-winded.
And I love The Rock. I love The
Yeah,
Rock. I love everything he's done for the company. I love everything he does outside of the company. I do. But Jesus, Mary and Joseph, that was a very long, drawn
it
out
was
promo.
unbearably uncomfortable.
It was
like
awkward.
it felt like a lot of rambling.
Yeah.
And then it was like, I want you to be my champ. I want you to be basically the corporate champ. And then he wants an answer at Elimination Chamber, and he goes, I don't want your title. I want your soul. And then I was like, what? Like, like it went from being like kind of weird and cheesy to a little creepy at the end, where I'm like, is that supposed to be menacing? Like, you want his soul? And then Cody's like, okay, I'll think about it. Like, I just didn't like this, and it was just like they dropped it in the middle of the show and ate up all of this time and kind of ruined everything around it to make time for what was pretty inconsequential. Like, I want you to be my champ. I'm like, dude, he already is. He's the WWE champion.
Yeah, like you own
Oh,
part
but
of
I
the
want you to be
company.
my champ. It's like, what do you mean by that? Like, like, how is he going to be your champ? Like, it's everything about it. It felt like a waste to me. I just didn't like it.
Yeah, so it was weird to say the least. It was weird because he at first he was doing the face shtick, then he was doing the heel shtick, then he was back and forth, flip flopping, flip flopping. It's almost like I always heard this thing how they say like how Dwayne Johnson is like a robot, right? Like he doesn't have a disagreeing bone in his body. He's like a pleaser because he, you know, wherever the money points you, right?
Yeah,
And I get that.
he's an entertainer. Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like he was malfunctioning because he was like, yeah, I love you guys. No, screw you guys. But I love you guys. Screw you guys. Really screw you guys. But I love you guys. Cody, I love you, but screw you. I want your soul. Like,
Yeah.
it's weird. You know, it was just like a weird dynamic to see him in. And I get he was probably trying to come across as like sarcastic with he was trying to be nice to the crowd.
Yeah.
I can see that, but he didn't pull that off. I think he needs to work on that because The Rock can only do one or the other because he goes all out on it. He goes full on one or the other. There's no halving either of it, right? If that makes sense. And all I kept thinking while he was doing this, even before Cody came out, all I can keep thinking is, hell, he is Vince 2.0. That's what's going to happen. It's going to be Mr. McMahon. He's going to start having them call him Mr. Johnson. And or Mr. Rock or whatever the hell he decides he wants people to call him besides Final Boss. I feel it was very Vince McMahonish on the way he was talking about it, and it was very awkward. And it was so awkward that they didn't even cue any music. I don't know if that was intentional, but it made it worse if it was intentional. So please don't say that was intentional. Just say that was an accident, because it was just awkward. Like, even the crowd didn't know how to react. They just they didn't boo, they didn't cheer, they were just quiet. Like, what did he just say? Like, calm down, Ursula. I think he was watching Little Mermaid with his daughters, and it was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
Well, like, and at the beginning, like when the fan dropped their phone when they were doing selfies, he like left the ring, walked all the
Yeah,
way
to go
around,
get it and give it
picked
to
up the
her,
phone, handed it to her, and I was
smiling.
like, what the heck? Like that was cool. I was like, oh, I guess he is still a face. Like he's going out of his way to actually help somebody. Stopped the show to go do it, and then he's like turning around and making fun of the crowd. Like everything about it felt so uneven and bipolar. That's why I was like, this is like why are you angry in one moment and then super friendly in the next moment? I don't
Yeah,
understand it. It was very
I don't know where
strange.
this is heading. I'm guessing this is. I don't know. Normally, I can try and guess.
I think he had a little one too many tequilas backstage before he got out there and wasn't sure where
No,
to go.
one or too many bottles, bro. Like it was a lot. Like I was just like, what are you talking about? This whole soul thing. I'm the only thing, and I try to really think outside the box here.
Yeah.
And if y'all in the comments have suggestions, please share them. But the only thing I could think of is maybe this is how he turns Cody heel. He kind of makes him do his bidding because he dangles the carrot in front of him. You know, the carrot being his legacy and stuff. But I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. Like it just didn't feel I hope that they thought it out, but it doesn't feel like his appearance was thought out at all. It was just
No,
very
they didn't.
spontaneous. So I doubt they put that much emphasis into it. And I still feel like it continued to apply to the next match, which is
Well,
Pretty
though,
Deadly
because then they
versus
were
DIY.
like, all right, cool,
Yeah.
guys, forget this happened. Men in Black, boop, and then
Yeah.
let's have a tag match,
Yeah,
like
tag match. DIY versus Pretty Deadly for the tag titles. And it was like,
Champa and Gargano are back there,
okay.
like, damn it,
Well, and it's funny because, and this one was a relatively short match,
it was
relatively, and it ended with a no contest
because of
where the
interference.
Street Profits came out and attacked, and so
Another triple
you
threat.
had two no contest DQs and a surprise roll up for your matches, and I was like, come on, like the only one that won clean was Tiff. So like everything about this was just like I could tell they ran out of time, so they were like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, the Street Profits are still going to sabotage everybody, and that was kind of
It's gonna be
the
a fatal
continuation
four-way
of that.
watch.
Yeah, they'll totally do it. And watch them put it together this week for Elimination
Elimination
Chamber.
Chamber.
Yeah, it'll happen like rapidly. And then the main event, which was the changed main event, Damian Priest and Braun Strowman versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. Long story short, Priest picked up the win for his team and hit Solo with the South of Heaven. But prior to that, the big moment was, after last week, Jacob was like, hey, you better have accidentally hit Tom. And he was like, yeah, I just accidentally hit him. No problem here. And like, you would know if it wasn't an accident. He's like, you would know if it wasn't an accident. Well, Jacob accidentally now super kicked Solo. So that, which you can kind of see that coming. It was like, well, you already had one misunderstanding. Now you got a misunderstanding going the other way. So Jacob actually super kicked Solo, which led to the South of Heaven for Damian Priest getting the win over Solo, which this continues to clearly set up. They're going to be doing Jacob versus Solo at some point. Maybe at Elimination Chamber. They haven't filled that card out. So,
Well, there's one more match needed for Elimination Chamber for my count, but
yeah.
yeah, I mean, well, and also I think the prelude to this too is that even in the beginning when they had Solo trying to give his little promo, kind of Jacob cut him off a little bit and then said hit my music, and they hit Jacob's music, so they came out to Jacob's music, not Solo's music, and you could tell Solo looked visibly like frustrated about it, which is good, right? It's going to develop this tension.
Well, yeah, you want to have that animosity because Jacob's been angry with Solo this whole time. So I'm glad he doesn't just flip it back and go, "I love you, man," and he's back to being the crony again.
Who knows? We'll see.
But yeah, that was Monday Night Raw. Very weird. Or excuse me, Friday Night SmackDown. It was a very weird,
Awkward
episode. And then we're heading into Elimination Chamber, so we'll have the penultimate episodes leading into that event is coming up. And then as far as predictions, Big D, we can do predictions real quick for Elimination Chamber since it's going to be next Saturday. Who you got for the men's winner?
I would like to see John Cena win it, just because that way he can get his title, because it looks like we want Cody's gonna have to give his answer to The Rock, I guess. But maybe, I mean, I doubt, but maybe we'll see John Cena win it, so that way John Cena can get his 17th championship, so that way when he does retire and go out, he can put somebody else over as champion, which I think would be the right thing to do. If he doesn't, but here's another theory that I've kind of heard and thought about and thought may be a good idea. So it could be where they're going through, of course, everyone gets eliminated, and you're down to the final three, which is John Cena, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. You'll have Seth take out Cena, and then it'll just be Punk and Rollins, and then CM Punk reminds everyone he has a favor from Paul Heyman. Roman comes out, spears Seth Rollins, costs him his opportunity, like Seth has cost Roman. Kind of like, then they can go back into that feud. The favorite gets cashed in. CM Punk takes the victory, and CM Punk wins the Elimination Chamber. So, two outcomes. My most desirable one would be to let John Cena win this one, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like they gotta have Cena win. Like they're gonna find a way to do it. I don't think it's gonna be a clean win. I think they're gonna do things to help everybody else save face throughout the match. I do think Cena will. I think it'll come down to CM Punk and John Cena, and I think Cena will end up winning. And I'm kind of torn of. I don't think that's the end of it. I think we're gonna see Cody Rhodes versus John Cena get turned into like a triple threat.
Mm,
Like you'll have either CM Punk will be put in as a third person or The Rock gets put in as a third person. Like I feel like The Rock just can't resist being in the
yeah,
main event.
he wants it.
So I feel like it'll happen at some point. That either it'll be they'll work it out to where it's a triple threat and then it'll be Cena, CM Punk, and Cody, and then The Rock will go instead of a triple threat, it's a fatal four way, and he'll put himself in, and then they'll do some shenanigans. But I think it ultimately starts with John Cena because this is his last WrestleMania.
Yeah,
He's going to main event it. Like
yeah,
he has
he
to.
has to.
So I think this is how they're going to get him there was through Elimination Chamber. So I'll stick with that. I think Cena's the one that they kind of have to deal with at this point.
Yeah. The second one, we have the women's elimination chamber match. That's Roxanne Perez. We have Bailey, Naomi, Liv Morgan, Alexa
Alexa
Bliss,
Bliss.
and Bianca Belair. Sorry, I was trying not to say it because I don't want my Echo Dot to go off. But
Who do you got in this one?
so a lot of things can happen. I feel like Naomi's not going to make it in. I feel like something's going to happen to either Naomi or Bianca.
I still think Becky's coming in. I think Becky. I think
Maybe.
one of those two is going to get eliminated or before the match, and then
Or
Becky will take her
Naomi's
place,
going to get taken out, and Jade's going to be like, well, she took my spot, so I want to take her spot.
take her spot. Yeah,
So who knows? But I would like to see Alexa Bliss take it personally. I think it should go to Alexa Bliss. If it doesn't, then Bailey for sure. Bailey.
I think it's going to be Alexa Bliss. I'm going to say that. I think out of that field, like they even had the promo, like the hype video for her on SmackDown, which is
Yeah.
one of the best moments on SmackDown this week was her
Yeah.
hype video. I think they're kind of building to her with the Wyatt Six. Do you get the Wyatt Six helping her at some point? Because we haven't seen them. They've kind of
Nikki Cross.
disappeared. So Nikki
Yeah.
Cross appears and maybe takes somebody out. And they use that as a launching point of, hey, look, she is part of the Wyatt Six and she wins. Like I hope that happens. And I think that will. I think if there is a switch with Naomi or Bianca and it's Becky Lynch, then it's Becky Lynch. Like that's how it's going to happen. But if that doesn't happen, I think it'll be Alexa Bliss. But I'm going to go Alexa Bliss if I got to pick one.
After that, we have Tiffany Stratton and Trish Stratus. That's a tongue twister. Against Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. I feel Tiffy and Trish are going to win.
Agreed.
Just because
it's in
they're
Toronto.
Too,
yeah, they gotta have to.
Trish Stratus, like she's going to win. So I think that's what's going to happen.
Agreed.
I feel this is going to be a decent match. We'll see what happens. Then we have the unsanctioned match. Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens going at each other here in an unsanctioned match. So I don't think anybody's going to win. I think it's going to be
they can't.
It's going to be a no contest. Yeah, technically there can be a winner, but it's going to be a no contest. I think both men are going to get carted out. They're going to pretty much beat each other around the arena. It's going to be a brutal match, so y'all be warned. I'm going to be excited to watch it because I like those kind of matches. But I think it's going to be a very brutal match. It's a very personal match, but I don't think this is where the feud's going to end. I feel like both men are going to incapacitate each other that much to where I think neither one of them is going to be able to continue. And it's going to be a no contest. They're going to stop it. Ambulance is going to come in involved, all that good stuff. And then it's going to build to mainly like a WrestleMania actual match, like a WrestleMania match, because they can have that. I think this feud's more, the blow off for this feud's more suited for WrestleMania than anything else. And I think having a no contest and an unsanctioned match will just add fuel to the build, I feel. So,
yeah. I'm curious. I mean, I agree because I look at it from the unsanctioned standpoint. I'm like, well, nobody can win. So I don't think there's going to be, there's no referee. There's not going to be any victor.
Should be a street fight.
It's just going to be a street fight. So I wonder if we'll see Randy Orton return here because he's got the history with KO. So I'm wondering if he comes out here and just like punts KO in the head. And we kind of start seeing heel Randy Orton come back.
I love heel Randy.
I love heel Randy. And I think this is a good launching point to do it. I think if you have him come back and have him like brutalize Kevin Owens and then have him brutalize Sammy at the same time and just be like, all right, let me go beat you both up. And that was my way of coming back in. And then the time off and, hey, Kevin Owens, he's this and that, but he's right. But Cody Rhodes is a terrible friend. and I had his back and this and that. And like, I think this is a good way to segue him in for like one final, like, good solid heel run out of Randy. So I hope that happens. I'm gonna go out on the
That'd be
limb that we
interesting.
maybe see him come back in, and since he's had a little bit more time off again.
Yeah,
So we'll see. We'll see though.
that works. That's all we have so far. We'll see. I think they have room for one more match. I think they
Yeah, they'll
usually do
probably
like
squeeze
5,
one more on the crowd on the
unless they're
card.
gonna let. Maybe they're just gonna let The Rock take that whole spot because he's gonna ramble again.
Well, that's right, because he is going to be there because he wants his answer from Cody.
I wouldn't be
So
surprised if he shows up with like a needle and wants him to sign a contract in blood or some
yeah,
crap like
it's
that.
like yeah, he'll have him like cut his hand, and then he's like,
Slice your palm.
remember what I gave you? Yeah, this little switchblade. That was what he gave him, and he goes, it was to sign this contract in blood. And you're like,
We're
okay,
gonna slit our palms and shake hands.
and shake hands. We'll be blood brothers forever. He's like, don't do it, Cody. And you'll have like you'll have Michael Cole and
Pat.
Pat McAfee on there going like, don't do it, Rock, don't give her your soul. So we'll see if we get some real like wrestling absurdity coming up. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
But with that, that's our show for today. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave us comments, all that good stuff. We're always happy to hear from y'all. And that's what we got this week. So until next time, I've been Michael D'Angelo. He's been Big D Daryl Ortiz. Have a wonderful week, everyone. See you soon.